Welcome to another Physna product feature overview. Now, our first video was an introductory video where we introduced you to project and folders. And then the second video, we uploaded our very first 3D models. Last video was a deep dive into searching and comparing, which is essentially the core of Physna technology. This video is going to be focused on one very specific but very powerful feature within Physna, and that's called Match Report. This one feature alone can instantly start highlighting the deduplication and potential inventory reduction use cases that I've spoken about in both the deep dive video and that last search and compare video. So let's get to it. Okay, so as I mentioned, this is going to be very simple. Literally all I'm going to do is go under my Files menu and select Match Report. I really only have three options here. There's a match percent threshold. So this is the percentage accuracy we want Physna to use when comparing parts to each other and bundling them into our report. And otherwise, I just have my folders and projects that I can limit my report to. And these are the same folders and projects that we reviewed in the first feature overview video. We'll get to see those coming into play here. In fact, let's just go ahead and run a match report only on one of the projects and folders that we created in that first video. So we uploaded our models into example folder 1, which was also part of example project 1. So if I click submit, and if you haven't seen that video yet, I'll share now that we only uploaded 2 parts into that folder, but they were in fact quite similar. And our match report here shows us that. It shows us that widget and widget with hull, it's grouped together as a match. And if I click on See Matches, it will show me both of these parts, and I can instantly see that my match percentage is well above the 95% threshold that had been set. So I wanted to show you this first with some parts and folders that hopefully you were already familiar with if you've been watching this series. But now let's go ahead and expand this search. Now if I go back to Match Report, and this time I select all folders and all projects, when I click Submit this time, it's going to effectively be comparing every single part that I have synced with my Physna environment and report back matches in exactly the same way as my first example. So I've referenced tens of thousands of models or hundreds of thousands of models many times throughout these first few videos. Now hopefully you're starting to see where that scale really starts to come into play with features like this. Now, if you have 1,000 models, you're still going to get that value. But right off the bat here, I can see that Physna has found potential duplicates of this sphere-looking part. And they all seem to be in the deep dive demo folder. And according to the match report, there are 24 of them. Now, if I click on the See Matches button here, I will see that in this case, they are all 100% matches. Now in this case, this is somewhat common. These could actually be version numbers, or sometimes when a model gets exported to different formats, you can get duplicate names either via the PLM system or sometimes even the CAD package itself. But it's still good to identify these. You could still have other hygiene issues starting to creep in your environment, and Physna can expose those to you. But now let's say we want to see exactly where this is being used. If I just select one of these parts and do a part match, again, means we're going to find other parts and assemblies that contain the part I'm on, and I will see it's being used in 2 different assemblies. Now, I will point out that Physna is illustrating again here the power of part in part matching, as this second part is actually a sub-assembly of this piston assembly on top. But if I actually select the second part here, I will see that these sphere-shaped parts are actually ball bearings that are being used inside of this bearing underscore rear assembly. And right away, I can confirm that these are absolutely identical. If those weren't simply version parts, I could take another action if need be. But this exercise actually helps drive home one of the most critical aspects of Physna's geometric search algorithms. And that's the ability to see even inside of seemingly sealed parts and assemblies. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, with shape searching tools or computer vision tools, they're usually taking a look at the outer perimeter of a part and helping to find matches and things of that sort. But let's go back to this piston assembly I showed you a second ago. If I go to the assembly tree and click on this simple bearing part, when I'm viewing this particular part, I can spin this in any direction I want. It is a completely encased part. But Phyzna's match report was able to find those ball bearings inside of this sealed bearing case. This is the level of awareness Physna can bring to your repository of 3D assets. Now, if I go back to my match report, I will see that it found a variety of matches here, but there was one I wanted to show you here in the miscellaneous parts folder, where I have 8 matches for this bolt here. So I'll go ahead and click on the See Matches again. Now, the reason I wanted to show you this is because it further illustrates something I highlighted in the Search and Compare video, which is Phyzna's ability to match different parts even when they're not placed on the same X, Y, and Z axes in the CAD software. In fact, these can be different file extensions from different CAD packages altogether. So as you can see here, all of these different bolts were identified as 100% matches by Physna, even though they clearly are positioned and look differently in the thumbnails. I can also see here that I'm spanning all of my folders by virtue of this one part in the Longway Acres folder versus the others being in the miscellaneous parts folder. These are all different file names. None of this matters. Physna is doing its job based solely on the geometry of the parts. So let's do another part match with one of these bolts to see where they're used. And I can see this same bolt is used in my brush cutter as well as inside my weed trimmer. So now we have a weed trimmer that's entered into the mix. So much like the screw example in our second feature overview, if these were truly duplicate bolts that were being used across different pieces of equipment, we may be exposing overhead here. Maybe my brush cutter division is buying those bolts for 15 cents a piece, and they're in our ERP system as ABC bolts. But my weed trimmer division is buying them for 5 cents a piece, and they're in our ERP system as XYZ bolts. They're the same bolts, but our systems don't know that. So again, we're keeping inventory levels and paying different prices from different suppliers because we simply don't know that they're the exact same part. Physna can help identify these duplicates and accelerate the rationalization of your parts inventory for both design and manufacturing. So there you have it, Match Report. Super powerful, super easy, and potentially a super fast way to get started bringing value into your organization with Physna. And the best part is that once you've uploaded your models, it's just that simple menu option that we showed you at the beginning of the video. So hopefully by now you're really starting to see how this concept of P&A in the context of your repository of 3D assets can be impactful in very significant ways. But we're just getting started. Our next Physna feature overview is where we start looking at part classification, where we leverage machine learning and advanced mathematics along with existing metadata associated with your 3D models to bring you new insights and correlations that you may have not thought possible. We're going to start with a feature called Smart Tags. So join us in the link below, and thanks again for watching this Physna feature overview on Match Report. Have a great day.